The college basketball experience, coaching carousel, why each coaching hire will work out on the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. Sign up today using the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. And Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Royal Retros. Royal Retros has your jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, sweatshirt from all your favorite old school teams that you love. Use the promo code SGPN for a 10% off your order today. That's the code SGPN at royalretros.com today. Welcome, everybody, to the College Basketball Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Thursday, May 9th. We're moving along in the offseason. I love this episode that we got on deck here tonight more than usual because we've been talking so much transfer portal. We've gotten away from the coaching carousel that we hit heavy and often in early April into mid-April. Let's circle back to it. Let's talk about why each coaching hire will work out in year number one. We had plenty of examples last year. But first, if you're wondering who you're listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin, also known as Mac tonight over at the College Basketball Experience, and we're getting into the coaching carousel. Shout out to the chat live and well. Timothy Green, let's go, baby. Rolex dad, appreciate it. Yes, we love the nightly shows. David, he's shit talking my Celtics and Joe Mazzulla. Celtics in 5. We just saw this with the Heat series. Don't overreact. Celtics will get it done in 5, maybe 6. Awful performance though from the Celtics tonight. Mazzulla will get those guys right. They couldn't make a shot to save their life tonight. You're not going to win in the NBA only scoring 94 points, but we're not talking NBA coaches. We're talking college basketball coaches because there were plenty of guys that were able to jump into the winner's circle in year number one, whether it was Alan Huss at High Point, taking over that program, winning the Big South. You had, Danny Sprinkle as well, taking over Utah State, winning the Mountain West. You had Steve Lutz taking over Western Kentucky, getting into the dance. Plenty of guys that have won in year number one. Jerome Tang, couple years before that, TJ Otzelberger, Grant McCaslin. The opportunity with the NIL and the transfer portal era is you can flip your roster and you can get good right away. Now, whether you can sustain winning, that's another thing. But I think there's plenty of coaches in year number one or headed into year number one that will have a chance to win right away. Now, there are 60. So how I broke this episode down. There are 60 coaches that were hired in the offseason. I'm not going to break down all 60 tonight. I'm actually probably going to do a 2-part series here. So I did the top 20, most high profile, TMZ top 20. And I'm looking forward to getting into it on the other side. But first, I want to talk to you about SGPN promo because if you're a hardcore baseball fan or a degenerate just sitting around looking for some action, get on over there to the MLB Gambling Podcast and subscribe there because they're giving out winners left and right. Let's go, MLB Gambling Podcast. All righty, let's get into the coaching carousel because, like you said, we get so lost in the transfer portal. Let's take a step back, dive into some of these coaches, alphabetical order of probably the top 20 high-profile hires so far this offseason. So first off, let's just start with the thumbnail that we got for this episode. John Calipari is going from Kentucky to Arkansas. If you did not know that, you've been living under a fucking rock. Calipari, 813 wins. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's at Kentucky for 15 years, from 2009 to 24. Memphis for another 9 years. UMass, went to Final Fours at each stop. Won a national championship in 2008. 6 Final Fours, 6 SEC titles, on and on and on. One and dones. If I read off all his draft picks, I'd be here talking all night to you guys. Why John Calipari can win at Arkansas? Well, it's simple. I mean, he's won wherever he's been. I know he's not popular. He's won at UMass. He won at Memphis. He won at Kentucky. He won a national championship in Kentucky. I know it ended badly, but the guy's won wherever he's been. He's going to get talent. His roster for the upcoming year is interesting just because he's bringing over so many pieces from Kentucky. But at the same time, they're going to be in the dance. It's whether they can advance past the first weekend. Arkansas will be an NCAA tournament team next year. So this hire is going to work out. This fan base is as energized as I could ever remember Arkansas basketball. I know the Muss Bus did a great job in his 5 years there. I know 40 Minutes of Hell in the 90s when they won a national championship with Nolan Richardson. But to be able to get Calipari, I mean, that was a huge get. And why he can win is just simply being John Calipari. He brings over his staff from Kentucky for the most part, outside of Orlando Antigua, who's going to join Brad Underwood at Illinois. But for the most part, he keeps it intact. It's Kentucky, but now it's in Woo Pig Suey land. So that one's an easy one to say why John Calipari is going to win. This one is not so easy. And I'm a Big 12 guy. I hope this hire does work out. Kevin Young coming over from the NBA to BYU. And I host the Ryan and Rush show, and I host the Big 12 Experience with Rush Bishop, a.k.a. Rambling Rush, who's a BYU grad. Family has BYU ties. I'm not high on this hire. I'm not going to lie to you. But I will tell you why it could work out. It could work out because maybe he's bringing a fresh mindset to BYU. He comes over he's highly respected in the NBA, stops at the Suns, 76ers. He's been a head coach, which is a pro in the G League at multiple stops, an Irish league back in the day. And I will say he does have experience coaching in the state of Utah. The state of Utah is unique, different with how popular being a Mormon is, whether it's Utah, BYU, Utah Valley, Southern Utah. That's what's unique, and that's kind of what the state of Utah has their niche in. And this BYU program is they don't BS it, man. They embrace who they are. They embrace being Mormon, and that's why the BYU job and the BYU brand is such a unique one. Is they don't sugarcoat it. They don't change their morals. And just go back to 2010, 2011, when they suspended Brandon Davies before the Sweet 16 game. I mean, they're in the Sweet 16, and they suspended him because he had sex. So it's BYU is going to be BYU. Kevin Young, his brother, is connected out there. I still am not a big NBA hire, but why it could work out, back to what the theme of this episode, NBA pedigree, fresh ideas. He is familiar with the state of Utah. That's why it could work for BYU. But he will have his challenges coming from the NBA to college basketball, just like all the other guys. But hope it does work out for BYU. Chris Mack is going over to Charleston, if you had not heard. 278 and 133. Coach at Louisville, coach at Xavier. He spent the last year at the Field of 68, and he was in the media side of things. He's a good coach, man. Won multiple regular season titles at Xavier in the A-10. They were competitive in the Big East. Honestly, I thought he did a pretty good job at Louisville, considering what he took over and what the hell happened after he left when Kenny Payne took over. Why Chris Mack could take over? Well, Charleston's coach proof, man. Pat Kelsey won there. Earl Grant won there. Danny Crum won there. Everybody wins there at Charleston. They got their own facilities. They got their own arena. They're the big fish in the small pond, as they like to say in the CAA. So he's going to win there, and he'll probably be back as a high major coach in a couple of years. That's why Chris Mack can win at the College of Charleston. Chris Holtman's going over to DePaul, and I actually think Chris Holtman gets a bad rap. I think people are just so set on what kind of his struggles over the last couple of years. You realize he went to 8 straight not Sweet 16, 8 straight NCAA tournaments from 2015 to 2022, pending the COVID year. They were going to go to the tournament. They had a good enough team that year. They were ranked number 2 at one point. So he went between Butler and Ohio State. He went to NCAA tournament every single year, 8 straight years. That's not easy to do. I know he's at programs that expect to go to the tournament, but we've seen guys that expect to go to the tournament and still don't get it there. 251 and 171. That's kind of what he is. He's kind of an 18 to 21 win coach, around a 32. Spent 7-8 years at Ohio State, 4 years at Butler, 4 years at Gardner-Webb before that. His most successful stint, in my opinion, was Butler. So he's back in the Midwest. Why he can win at DePaul is get more out of less. I think he's better when expectations are low, and I think they're going to be extremely low at DePaul. We've seen what he's done with the portal class. So yeah, give me I actually like the Chris Holtman hire, and I like the staff he's assembled there so far. So that's why Chris Holtman can get things finally turned around in Chicago for the DePaul Blue Demons. And Cannabis Capper agrees Holtman is the best hire DePaul has made since Joey Meyer. They couldn't have done better, in my opinion. I completely agree. And it was nice that they actually didn't hire a retread, a guy that they've already had in from 10, 15 years ago, like they did with Dave Lato. So I hope it works out with Holtman at DePaul. He's got his challenges. The Big East is a bitch. It's a hard-ass league, physical night in and night out. But you got to get Chicago going. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Chris Holtman at DePaul. John Jacobs going over to FAU. Why he can win? He's a Scott Drew guy. All the Scott Drew guys win. Jerome Tang, Grant McCasland, Paul Mills, Driscoll down in North Florida. He's a loyal guy. He stayed with Scott Drew from 2012 to 2024. He wore every hat in that program, from GA to video to ops, assistant coach. Guy did a great job for a great program and was a part of winning, where they elevated the Baylor program to a national championship, potentially another national championship in the next couple of years. Jacobs is a great hire for FAU, in my opinion. I know he wasn't a sexy hire, but you look at all the Scott Drew guys, you look at the Scott Drew tree, you can't nitpick at it, man. I mean, with what Jerome Tang did, McCasland's doing, Mills and Driscoll, it's hard to nitpick, and that's why I think Jacobs could win at FAU right away, take it over for Dusty May. Now the big one, big two. We get the next two are really good. Mark Pope is going over to Kentucky. So we talked about Kevin Young taking over BYU. Now let's talk Mark Pope. Why Mark Pope can win? Mark Pope just came from the best league in America with the Big 12, won 20-plus games with BYU in the first and inaugural year. I know they had a veteran team, but they also built that veteran team over years, where they were so well coached, so well structured. For them to finish 5th in the Big 12 last year was extremely impressive for BYU, in my opinion. And he played at Kentucky. He knows Kentucky. He knows the expectation. He's won a national championship as a player at Kentucky. That's why I think Mark Pope can win. And he's going to do not the opposite of Cal, but I think he's going to be different. He's bringing in veteran guys through the portal. I think they're going to be older. They won't be as sexy. They won't have as many draft picks, but that doesn't win in college basketball now. What wins is veterans, men, guys that have been in your program for a couple years that just aren't about all the outside things. So I think the Mark Pope hire is not a sexy one, but I think it's a really good one. And there's a reason they sold out Rupp when he had his introductory press conference. Trevor, TVDBJ, loves the hire. Kentucky Kentucky fans will be insufferable with us next year. Yes, they're always insufferable, Trevor, unfortunately. I love the Mark Pope hire. We did multiple episodes on that. I think he's going to be great there. I think he was a perfect breath of fresh air coming off the Calipari era, which was a good one, all things considered. The Calipari era still was a good one. It's just everything runs its course eventually. So give me Mark Pope in Kentucky. Love the hire. He can win because he knows Kentucky. He is Kentucky. And, he also played in the NBA, so that helps as well. So if he can coach and win at BYU in the Big 12, he can win at Kentucky, getting whoever the hell he wants. So Mark Pope going to do a good job there. Another guy let's go right down the road in the Bluegrass State. Pat Kelsey's taken over Louisville. He's hit the portal often early. They're going to be way better than what they were the last couple of years with Kenny Payne. Not that, I could have done that. But anyway, Pat Kelsey, 261 and 122 at College of Charleston and Winthrop over the last, he was at Charleston from 21 to 24, Winthrop 12 to 21. He's a really good coach. He's a program energizer, in my opinion. He's won the regular season title in his leagues 4 out of the last 5 years. The only year he didn't win it was the first year he took over Charleston. So won the last 2 years, won his last 2 years at Winthrop. He spent time at Xavier with Chris Mack, who succeeded him now. They had a lot of success there at Xavier, also at Wake Forest. He's going to win because he's won wherever he's been. I mean, we just talked about his record, 261 and 122. Good coach. And he's going to bring some energy into that Yum Center, much needed energy. So, yeah, Pat Kelsey, good hire for the Louisville Cardinals. Real quick, before we dive into the second half of these coaching hires, I got to talk to you about, Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and so is Underdog Fantasy. Maybe make a little bit of cash over at Underdog Fantasy throughout the playoffs. We were on the hires for Donovan Mitchell and Luka tonight, looking good so far, considering both road teams are bouncing back nicely. Underdog is available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. And they just launched Champions Players versus Player format in Florida. Sign up today using the promo code TCESGPN right there. Those watching on youtube.com/college experience. And, they will double your they will claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $200.50 in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. All righty, let's get back into it, baby. Vodka tastes good tonight, by the way, guys. Have a nice little glass of vodka. Talking a little coaching changes, a little carousel. Got the playoffs on in the background. The Mavs are winning. The Cavs already won tonight. Dusty May is going over from FAU to Michigan, 126 and 69 at FAU. So Dusty, obviously, he's done a good job hiring Mike Boyden. I like Dusty May a lot. I think what he did at FAU is really underrated, to be honest. I know he went to a Final Four, and that's what people remember him for, but I don't think people realize how bad FAU was when he got there. And 5-6 years ago, for him to build FAU into what it was at the end was one of the better coaching jobs in the last 5-6 years that we will ever see. So, and honestly, you look at Mike White. Mike White has not had as much success since Dusty May took the FAU job. I think that says a lot about what Dusty May meant to Mike White with their stops in Florida, Louisiana Tech. And why Dusty May can win? Well, he'll just do what he did at FAU. He's a program builder. He's a Midwest guy, too. He was a student manager for Bob Knight. He started from the bottom. He loves the Midwest area. He's from Terre Haute. And I think he actually fits. I think he fits Michigan well. I think he's going to be able to break down some of the barriers that they've had to battle over the last couple of years. So Dusty May can win because Dusty May will hire good staff, and he's a program builder at Michigan. Michigan fans should be excited about having Dusty May leading their program. From Michigan to Ohio State, Jake Diebler's taken over after going 8-3 in his interim year. He's been with Ohio State multiple positions: assistant coach, associate head coach. His brother played at Ohio State. Obviously, the players love him. Why he can win is, well, he just continued what he did in his interim year. I thought the way that he energized the program was big time. They beat Purdue, they beat Illinois, they beat almost everybody down the street. Michigan State at the buzzer. A little weary though on interim hires based off an 11-game sample size, but why he can win, he's a player's coach. The guys love him. Michi Johnson coming back from South Carolina as soon as Holtman is out and Diebler's in. He's a player's coach, so players like to play for him, and that's why Diebler can win at Ohio State. Steve Lutz taking over Oklahoma State. Love this hire. Talked about it at length over at the Big 12 College Experience. 69-35 over the last 3 years at Western Kentucky, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. 3 straight tourney appearances at 2 different programs, and he's a Matt Painter guy and Greg McDermott guy. So he's an offensive, guru, but by default, and those guys run good programs. They've won consistently. I know they have not had March Madness success as what people expect and want each and every year, but you look at what Painter and McDermott have done. They've run good programs. Everybody that's been a Painter assistant's been pretty good as a head coach. Same with McDermott. This guy comes from both trees. Steve Lutz will get Oklahoma State going. If you're a Cowboy fan, you should be extremely excited about this hire. This guy's a program builder as well. Love the Steve Lutz hire in Stillwater. Rob Lanier's going over from SMU to Rice. So not a far commute, not a far move. Maybe stays in the same house. 141 and 135 as a head coach. Honestly, got fucking screwed at SMU, if we want to call a spade a spade. He elevated them from 10 wins to 20 wins, but they're going to the ACC, and they went a different route. He went to the tournament at Georgia State. He was struggling at Siena. He's a Rick Barnes guy. So he's going to bring some toughness with the stops at Tennessee and Texas. Lanier did a good job last year. He doubled their win total from 10 to 20. Why Rice fans should be excited? The Rice guys, I think Lanier could do what he did at SMU, but do it at Rice now. I think he could double that thing right away and get this thing competitive like he had at Georgia State and SMU in year number 2 with good athletes. Josh Schertz is taking over St. Louis from Indiana State. This guy's a flat-out fucking winner. That's why you should be excited if you're a Billiken fan. 403 and 109. Indiana State, he built that thing up. Lincoln Memorial, he built that thing and won consistently at Lincoln Memorial. 11 wins, year number 1 at Indiana State, 32 in year number 3. That's a nice little return on investment. He won 10 regular season titles, multiple Sweet 16s, Final Fours at Lincoln Memorial, and he was 32-1 his 2020 year. So he probably would have won the national championship that year. They went 22-0 in conference play. So, yeah, sure, it's great hire at St. Louis. Brings over Robbie Avila, who we love on this show. Great hire for St. Louis. Billiken fans will love this guy. Andy Enfield. We talked about Rob Lanier going over got fired from SMU. Well, they're going over the ACC, so they bring in a big name. Andy Enfield, 261, 175. Good run at USC, 12 years. Gulf Coast as well with Dunk City, where he's known for. 6 NCAA tournaments, 5 at USC, the one famous run at Gulf Coast. Why they should be why SMU fans should like this hire is, well, the guy's been pretty consistent. I thought he kind of got taken for granted at USC. I think people didn't appreciate what they had with him. I thought he consistently won there. USC's not a basketball job. That program was not in a good state when he took over. So I think Enfield brings stability to SMU, high major experience, and I think he's going to get players at SMU as we've seen so far in the portal. So they should like this hire with Andy Enfield at SMU. One of my favorite hires on the portal cycle, not portal, the carousel cycle. Kyle Smith going from Wazoo to Stanford. Fucking tree huggers hit it out of the park with this hire. Kyle Smith, 258 and 193, flat out program builder. Wazoo, San Fran, and Columbia. So he's built all those programs up. He's a Randy Bennett guy, who's also a program builder. And we saw what he did at Wazoo. One of the best coaching jobs over the last 4 or 5 years, building that thing, getting it to the round of 32, put it on a silver platter for Todd Golden at San Fran so that he could run when he took off for Wazoo. And Columbia, he won there as well. So great hire for Stanford. They were not going to do better than this. So yeah, Kyle Smith, Stanford fans, this one's easy to sell. Stanford fans should be ecstatic that they have Kyle Smith as their head basketball coach. Speaking of ecstatic, Mr. Energy, the Muss Bus is headed from Fayetteville to Southern California. You know, it's really crazy. The more and more I think about it is Enfield, one domino fell. Rob Lanier got fired at SMU. He takes the right job. Enfield goes to SMU. They're excited about that hire. Muss Bus goes to USC. They're excited about that hire. Calipari goes to Arkansas. They're excited about that hire. So it's been a win-win-win for everybody other than Rob Lanier, unfortunately. Why you should be excited USC fans if you're out there, if you fucking exist. I mean, the Muss Bus, yeah, after 4 or 5 years, you'll probably be tired of his ass, but look at his track record, 221 and 93. That's his overall record at Arkansas and Nevada. 6 out of the last 7 years, he's been in the NCAA tournament, 2 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite 8s, NBA background, overseas background. He'll take off his shirt when you win a big game. He's easy to sell. The Muss Bus is going to be great at USC. Hollywood's great for him. So he's from California. His dad coached out there. Home run for USC. Home run for Arkansas. Home run for SMU. All these, these are all home runs for these programs getting these guys. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the Muss Bus go out to Cali. Maybe bring a little bit of fucking life in that place. David's talking about Muss Bus's wife, dynamic wife like Dan Marino. Who said that? George Bush. One of the all-time classics. All right, so we talked some high major. Let's go over to my favorite league outside the Big 12. That's the Mountain West. And this is one of my favorite hires, too. Jared Calhoun taking over Utah State. Jared Calhoun is probably one of the most underrated coaches in America. 242 and 144 at Youngstown and Fairmont State. Now, I don't think people realize how bad the program of Youngstown was when he got there. They finished in last basically each and every year. Calhoun, flat out program builder. Bob Huggins guy, Cincinnati. Walsh, West Virginia. So obviously I like him because he's a Hugs guy. He's a West Virginia guy. But what he did at Fairmont State, had a hell of a run there. He was a national runner-up, multiple NCAA tournament, multiple 20-plus win season, a 30-win season. And then what he did at Youngstown, like I said, taking over the absolute basement program in that league and building it into a Horizon contender back-to-back years these last couple of years. He's going to do a great job at Utah State. And this is another coach-proof program where you put a coach in there, they're going to win a couple years, and they're going to be at a Power 5 in 1 to 2 years. We just saw it with Danny Sprinkle, Ryan Odom. Who was before Ryan Odom? Drawing a blank. Craig Smith, who went to Utah. So great fan base, great fit. Looking forward to seeing the Jared Calhoun era go from Youngstown over to Utah State with many more resources, and just a better program than Youngstown. So great hire, Utah State. You guys are going to love this guy. Jared Calhoun, great hire for the Utah State Aggies and Logan, baby. Mark Byington's going over from James Madison to Vanderbilt. Another guy, program builder. I mean, 220 and 137, did a great job at JMU, 82 and 36. I thought he did a good job at Georgia Southern. And I know people just remember last year's round of 32 run, but I mean, he did a good job at Georgia Southern for 5, 6 years. Um, JMU was not JMU when Byington took over back in 2020. So Vanderbilt, you guys are gonna have to build this thing from the bottom. Byington's the right guy. He's gonna build it, and you guys should be excited with this hire. Speaking of being excited, Washington fans, you got a ball coach now. You don't have Hopkins anymore. You got Danny Sprinkle, 3 straight NCAA tournaments. Utah State, we just talked about it with Calhoun taking over. Well, Sprinkle leaves it in good hands. He took over. He had to replace every single player on his roster. What does he do? Well, he wins the Mountain West, which was the 4th or 5th best league in America last year. Won at Montana State. 3 straight tournaments, like I said. He's from this state. Great hire, great energy, good coach. And he's going to do a great job there as they transition into the Big Ten. Going over to the other team in the state has not been as lucky with expansion. David Riley's going over to Wazoo. This is a well-earned promotion for David Riley. 62-38 at EW. Won back-to-back regular seasons. Lost back-to-back heartbreaking buzzer beater overtime games in the conference tournament. So never got them to the dance. He's been at EW since 2012. He's from the state, just like Danny Sprinkle. Honestly, he may be the next Danny Sprinkle. David Riley, great hire for Wazoo. Why they should be excited? Well, he won every year at Eastern Washington, which has been a great program out there in the Big West. So the Wazoo fans should be excited as they transition into the Mountain West era. And last but not least, final one for this episode. Like I said, we're going to break this up into 2 parts. I only saved the best for last right here. Darren DeVries going over from Drake to West Virginia. Great hire, in my opinion. Love this hire. Why West Virginia fans should be excited? Well, go check out the Ryan and Russ show. We are already broken this down extensively, in depth. 150 and 155 at Drake over the last 5-6 years. 3 out of 4 tournaments. Had Miami beat 2 years ago. Had Wazoo beat this year. He's won 20 games every single year as a head coach at the Division I level. Also, a Greg McDermott guy and Dana Altman guy. 2 guys that are proven winners. DeVries, how can you not be excited if you're a Mountaineer fan for DeVries and this upcoming era? So I'm looking forward to it. And that does it for part 1. I'm going to break down some of the mid-major ones. A lot of programs have decided to promote within. So we'll break down who these guys are, who could be the next wave of coaches that are going to be started. Who's going to be the next Danny Sprinkle, the next Jared Calhoun, the next David Riley. Because these guys could be high major coaches in 2 to 3 years. And we're going to have as many on this show as possible in this offseason. So make sure you subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. Make sure you subscribe to the College Football Experience as well. With Colby, Patty C, NC Nick, they're going to start breaking down each and every team in the land. Go check out the Big 12 Experience. We broke down some expansion talk today. College Baseball Experience coming up here later tonight with Noah Beanick, Road to Omaha. And like I said, subscribe. We got some more coaching talk coming up. We'll do some NBA draft stuff. And, hey, I'm telling you, we're going to have some coaches on here soon. So make sure you got your notifications turned on. This is another edition. This was fun tonight. I enjoyed this one. I was tired of talking the fucking transfer portal. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So I wanted to get back to talking to some coaches. Who could be the next Danny Sprinkle, the next David Riley, Jared Calhoun? Like I said, it's going to be a fun offseason as we count down to November 4th. Unfortunately, it is not near, but it'll be here before we know it. Shout out to the chat for rocking with us tonight. Trevor, David, Cannabis Capper, you guys are the best. Obviously, Timothy Green as well. Appreciate you guys. This is another edition. Where are we at right here? Another edition of You guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys Sunday night. This is Moneyline Max signing off. You better start thinking about yours. And we are out of here.